Salve, gurizada! Sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um episódio do NattyCast. Esse, se eu não me engano, é o episódio número 5. Estaremos gravando aqui com um cara fenomenal, que é o Adam Powe, um cara incrível. Adam é um bodybuilder profissional, ganhou o Natural Olympia, ganhou a Classic do Natural Olympia e a Bodybuilding no Natural Olympia, né? Então a Open Bodybuilding. Ele também é treinador online, tem a sua consultoria online, vai estar subindo, se eu não me engano, 5 atletas esse ano ainda que vão competir aos cuidados dele. E é lá do Reino Unido, então tenho certeza que ele vai conseguir trazer um monte de coisa aqui para vocês em relação a treino, que vocês vão conseguir, cara, assim como teve o episódio lá com o Josh, com o Adam, tenho certeza que vocês vão aprender bastante coisa também. Até porque eu já troquei uma ideia com ele aqui antes da gravação e falei que, pô, o meu estilo de treino é bem diferente do teu. É bem diferente não, mas é um pouco diferente do teu e diferente do Josh. Então tenho certeza que o pessoal vai conseguir colher bastante coisa de ti também. Hey Adam, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Nice. Just introduced you to everyone, and I just wanted to let you know again that I'm really, really excited to have you here. It's really nice for me to be able to bring information about natural bodybuilding, but not only from Brazil, but from other countries in the world where it's so much ahead in the meanings of growth. I've talked to other athletes from there, and I got really shocked when I heard that there were competitions with more than 150 natural athletes. That's like, for us here in Brazil, that's amazing, Natural bodybuilding, specified natural bodybuilding competitions only began here last year. So before 2022, for us to compete, we would have to go on stage as naturals, but against enhanced athletes. So it's really nice to see how the natural bodybuilding already is in other countries. So thanks a lot for coming here and talking about it.
Yeah, pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, going on this topic, for us to begin the talk, I would like to know, how did you got to begin with the workouts? How old were you? Were you more like a chubby person, a skinny person? What motivated you to go to the gym?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started training around 15 years old. I got into it because I was a rugby player, so I played rugby, and I loved rugby at the time. And when I first initially started playing rugby, I was quite tall, and then I stopped growing. So I was like, okay, I need to get bigger the other way to be strong and be good at the sport. And I started doing it for that, but then I just started loving training. I saw results pretty quick. I was at school, so they had a school gym, so it was quite easy for me because the gym was free. It was a good environment. It was just like with all your mates training, just like free weights sort of stuff, and it was fun. And I didn't really think about much, but I just loved to train at that age, and I did actually see some pretty good results. And then I just carried that on. I carried on training, and then I think when I was 19 years old, that was when I decided that I wanted to compete. So I kind of just thought, well, I should make the most of my training and give it a clear purpose with competing. So I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I just went to the nearest person I knew who knew about prep, and he prepped me for a show, and I won, and I loved it. And like, the prep was really hard, but like the reward of winning and everything was just so good that I was like, wow, this is such an amazing feeling. Like, the feeling of stepping on stage, the feeling of just sticking at something and then being rewarded for it. Like, I just loved that. So I loved prep itself as well. And I just kept doing that. So I competed a lot when I was young, maybe a little bit too much. But that was kind of how I started initially getting into training. It was from rugby, and then it transitioned into me just seeing like that I love to train. I started to see good results, and I wanted to make everything I was doing in the gym have a purpose, because I was going there all the time. And I thought, you know what, for my age, I might actually do pretty well. So that was how I started. Yeah.
Nice. And this first competition you got on stage, was it already a natural bodybuilding competition, or was it a regular competition?
So the first show I did when I was 19 was a regular show. It wasn't a well-known federation at all. It was quite late in the year and there was only that one. And then at the time, like the coach who I was with didn't really suggest it yet in terms of natural bodybuilding until I think the next year or maybe 2 years later. So then I looked into doing natural shows the second season. Yeah. So the year after I went and did my first natural show, which was the BNBF. So British Natural Bodybuilding Federation. That was the first show I ever did. And I did a qualifier. And then after that, I just stopped prep. I got an invite to the finals, but I just, at the time, I was just didn't, yeah. And then I just competed the next year as well. Yeah.
Nice. And so your first competition was with 19 years old. Today you are?
I'm 24. Yeah.
24,
25
years ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, 5. Yeah, I guess. Well, actually, I just turned 19, so it's almost 6 years ago. Yeah.
Nice. So about the beginning, you having school gym and stuff. Is this a normal thing in England, or it's like, oh, my school had it, and so I trained there, or it's more because the view I have from Brazil is that this is very common on the US, but I've never seen it in England.
Yeah, I think at my school, so it was a private school, so you had to pay to go to the school, so they had more facilities. So I guess I had access to like training, like gym and sports there. So yeah, I don't think all schools would provide that. I was quite fortunate to have that. I think it really helped me at that age because when you're 15 years old, like I remember I sometimes would train at a commercial gym, and I found it a little bit intimidating. And even then at my age, like I was quite intimidated. So training at the school gym did help get me like into training. Cause initially I can imagine the thing that stops people at the start is maybe the slight, like, I don't know, not wanting to go into the gym and not know what you're doing and people looking at you and stuff. So it was a good environment that I was fortunate to have. Yeah.
Nice. And another thing to talk about, you began to work out when you were 15 and your first competition wasn't when you were 19. So 4 years apart on that.
Yeah.
In these 4 years, how would you like compare the evolution you had on the first 4 years of training from the 19 to now? Because let me contextualize a little bit, because I've talked to Jamie de la Madrid already on the podcast, and he is a WNBF pro. And one thing we discussed a lot on the podcast, we got him a before and after peak from when he were with 4 years of training and later with 7 or 8 years of training. And like the difference was brutal, but because mostly in the first 4 years, he would not train as optimal as he should, He would mostly look to enhanced people training, which were the reference he had, and would try to adapt what they did to his body.
Yeah.
And so when he got out from Brazil to Spain, where natural bodybuilding is way bigger than here, then he began to have contact with the natural bodybuilding basis, and start to work out with that, and had like a mind-blowing evolution on his physique. So how was for you on the beginning? You think you already had like a basis of what you do, or it was mostly like I began there, I didn't know much what to do, but along the way I found out, and it was on this moment that okay, now I know how to train, I know how to diet, and from now on my physique just exploded.
Yeah, so I mean, it was the same story with me. I would say the first 3-4 years of training, I was pretty clueless. It's not to say I still made some good progress. I guess the thing with me back then is I was extremely consistent. I would train like every day, and I would just love to train. I'd train hard, and I always turned up with training. So that was a good thing, and I ate a lot of protein, but I just was clueless. Like I used to go to Nando's. It's a chicken place in the UK. I'd get like a whole chicken, be like 150 grams of protein. I'd be like, oh yeah, this is all my protein. So I just didn't know what I was doing at that age. But like when you're 15, 16 years old, back then there wasn't that availability of information like there is now. So I wish like I did have some information. Like if I knew differently, then yeah, I would have probably made more progress. However, yeah, I would say the thing that allowed me to progress back then was just training hard and being consistent and just eating enough food. I didn't track food until I started. So I literally, when I decided to prep, I got a coach, and that's when I started tracking food. So I hadn't tracked any food until I was 19. So, and whenever I dieted, like I used to diet for like a summer when I was younger, and I would just eat less food. Like I would just eat less carbs, and it was very intuitive. So yeah, I was pretty clueless back then. I actually have a client. He's a teen. He's just turned 16 years old. And I said to him,
Oh, I've seen him.
Yeah, I think
Felipe, show him on the screen. I've seen have you posted him on the feed on Instagram, or was it only on the stories?
Yeah, it's on my story. It's called Caleb though. I don't know if but yeah, I said to him, because he's got really small waist, like really nice shape. He's got really good potential. But I said to him, look, like you've made the best decision starting with a coach at this age, because in 10 years, if you're 16, in 10 years, you're 26. You're still young. So
exactly. Yeah.
You can nail it for 10 years. And I think the reason I grew a lot back then was just because of my age. Like you're in the best years, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. You're just in your prime to just grow. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. And I think Felipe won't be able to put Caleb on the screen because I think it already expired from your stories. But I've seen it was like a couple of months of difference, was it? I think
it was like a month.
It was like a month. Yeah. I knew it was like a really short time, but we really could see the difference mostly on his arms, you know. So
and it's like one of them ones where they're visually leaner, but they're like 2 kilos heavier. You know? He looks so much leaner, and it's
exactly.
Yeah. So it's exciting for him, but yeah, I wish I could go back and learn, and I wish I could have applied what I knew now, but I think it's part of the process for most people. You know, most people when they're 15, 16, and something that I would make sure with him is, you know, at that age you should enjoy life a little bit as well. Like you shouldn't be as much as I am now. If I was doing this, like just tunnel vision at 15, 16, I wouldn't have enjoyed much of life, you know.
Yeah, of course, but people can do like Caleb, for example, and ally both, you know, like get the knowledge from someone with more experience, and also of course like enjoy life, but having just this knowledge putting on mostly on the workouts, which is where I see people like making more mistakes, you know. Just for making an efficient training, mostly as a natural, it makes a huge difference, you know, a huge difference. And we can see it from your job with Caleb as well.
Yeah, I mean, my training back then was just really high volume. Just doing what I saw on YouTube of assisted athletes who, the training is very different for them. And, you know, it's something I believe strongly about is when you're assisted, you don't need to nail it. Like you can grow very easily. So you could grow taking a lot of steroids and training being poor. You can still grow a lot, especially if you still just train hard. But when you're natural, you have to do it right. Otherwise, you're not gonna like optimize your progress. So back then I was doing like 5 sets of 5 flat bench, stuff like that, you know.
Nice. Yeah, that's exactly what I say like a lot to people on my Insta, that most people will be training for like a couple of years, 3 years, and they will say, oh, my genetics is bad, I will never get a good physique without any help from outside, like help from outside meaning steroids. But most people also don't push their genetic potential to the maximum, and not really because they don't push so hard, but because they don't have the knowledge of what would be best for them to be doing so that they could push the genetics, you know. And that's exactly what you said. If from the beginning, like you had a coach, you would obviously from day one be pushing your genetic level, let's say, to the maximum, and would have made more progress in less time. And this is what I also say to people on Insta, that like this new generation of natural bodybuilders, and of course we're also new, we're on our mid-20s, but like people like Caleb with 16 that are already from the first beginning training with people that understand how natural bodybuilding works, will like having genetics allied to it, will outwork us, in no time, because it's amazing how this thing works. Consistency and time along.
I mean,
makes
the teen natural bodybuilding standard at the UK this year is just crazy, significantly better than I've ever seen before. Like way better than last year. Like the standard.
You have teen categories already?
Yeah, we have a teen class. Yeah, that's like stacked. I know the guy who won, the team that won the WNBF UK won the overall, the whole show. Josh C Fit. Yeah, he won like everything. So yeah, he's crazy good for his age. Yeah.
And the teen class is from how years old to how? Where's the gap of age?
Yeah, I think it's just till you're 20. Yeah, I guess you can. I think you could do it at 14, but I hope no one does it at 14. But yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So getting a few more, like diving a little bit more into the topic of competition. So first competition 19, then maybe in the next year natural bodybuilding. How was the escalade, let's say, till you won the British Championship and became British champion? Because you is a natural Olympia champion, but also British champion, right?
Yeah.
How was it?
So what we say? How was the time period, or
like talking about career? How the competitions you made, how you saw, like, was most like a goal from the beginning, since I began competing natural bodybuilding, you already admired the British champion trophy, or was it like, I'll go competing on some championships and suddenly the British championship pops out as an opportunity and I got there? And how was it?
Okay, yeah. So I understand. So yeah, I competed in 2019 in juniors, and I was British champion then. So I was junior British champion in 2019, and then I went to the WNBF Worlds, and my prep didn't go very well there with my old coach, and yeah, I came third, but I thought I was a lot better at the finals, the British finals beforehand. And when I went to the WNBF Worlds, I saw the standard of athletes there, and I saw Kendall. Do you know Kendall?
Yeah.
The one, yeah. So I saw him there. I met him. I spoke to him, and we know each other quite well now. And at the time, that really inspired me, just seeing him in person and seeing the standard of natural bodybuilding. And then I knew he was 24, and I was 20 at the time, or 21, and I believed, like, right, this is where I want to go. I want to be at this level. So after that, I really committed to it, and I had a year off, and I was chasing this goal. So that was my dream when I had that year off. But then I came back to prep with my old coach, and it didn't go very well, that prep. Just started in a terrible position, had to lose like a lot of weight, quite old school peaking strategies, like cutting water, stuff like that just didn't go well. And that show went really badly at the finals. So I came fourth, and that was like really heartbreaking for me, because I was wanting to be like going all the way up there, and I believed I had the muscle to do that. And when I went into that year off, I built a lot of muscle, but because I didn't retain that muscle, I lost a lot of it through a bad prep. it meant that I just didn't do as well as I could have at all. So after that, I was very confused. I didn't know what to do. I started with AJ, and then we quickly spoke, and AJ made it clear, like, this is not who you are as a bodybuilder. You can be so much better than this. You need to compete next year, because this is about getting your like bodybuilding name back. Because I previously was a British champion, and then I went back, and then I came like fourth in juniors again. So it's like, so that was the goal. And he said, look, this is about just having a good prep, showing my physique at its best, and then believe like winning a British title, because he believed in me to win a British title, and that gave me the motivation again, and it saw the belief. I had that belief in myself again, which for a brief period I lost. So after that, that was the goal. It was about doing that again, and yeah, it happened, and yeah, it was a good story. And yeah, since this prep, now I'm kind of back into that position now of just knowing where I want to be and chasing it, which I had in the past. Like, I had a goal in my head, and I believed it was going to happen, because I think that's a really powerful tool, visualizing something in your head and almost believing that every step you take, you're going towards that goal. So now I'm telling myself one day I'm going to be professional natural bodybuilding, like world champion or something. That's my goal, and I believe one day I will get there. Whether it will be next season, maybe not, but eventually that's where I'm heading towards. I think that's a really powerful thing. So I'm glad that I'm able to do that again, because when I lost my show in 2021, that went away, and it was difficult. And then I got it back.
Nice. That's really nice for you to say, because I'm also on prep now, and I think it was on Wednesday workout. It was not a PR, but I managed to made a progress on the bench press, even on a caloric deficit deficit for some time, and
Nice,
it really like fired the flame on me. And when I got out of training, I said it not exactly what you said, but something like that, like this to people, which is like, believing is the most difficult part, because you can't. It's like, when you don't believe, you can't make as many as positive reinforcement. I think it would be like, you can keep saying in your head that you believe, but if you don't, you can say it as many times as you want, it won't come out. But suddenly something flashes, something happens, and suddenly you not only believe, but and maybe this was AJ for you. You were like trying to believe, and just wasn't feeling it. But then comes up a guy and saying, man, no, that's it, we'll do it, it will work. And you begin prep, and you begin to feel it again, and it was like it never even came out of you. It's it has always been there on your mind, and you just found it again, and you keep pushing and pushing, and that's really, really amazing. And that's something I also say to people, like, you need to believe. That's not something you can pretend to, but that's something that you can, when you're working towards something, it's like you're building that confidence, because
absolutely,
each and every step of the way, you keep feeling like you say, maybe may not be this year, next, or the other, but every step you make, you keep getting closer, and you keep that belief keeps getting like stronger. So that's really amazing.
And I think it's important in bodybuilding. There's a fine line. It's like, you've got to have belief in your capabilities. You've got to believe what you can do, but then you've also got to be like realistic. So obviously in bodybuilding, you can't control who turns up on stage. Like, that's something out of your control. So for me to go, I'm winning the pro Natural Olympia next year. For me to say that all the time and be like, I'm going to win the pro, like, that's almost forgetting what bodybuilding is. Like, it's like, how can I say that? I don't know who's going to step on stage. But saying I believe I can win it's a different thing. And that's something that's important when you're on prep, because I really believe that if you do a prep and you're telling yourself, I'm going to win this show, it's going to happen, what do you do when it doesn't? Like, you're almost setting yourself up to just hate the fact you did the prep. So you've got to be prepared to fail, but like almost like expect to win, be prepared to fail, you know? And that's a difficult thing to do. It's like a way of approaching it, but it's something that I try and teach my clients is like, you've got to have absolute belief in yourself, but you've also got to like deal with losing well, because if you don't deal with losing well and you're just competing just because you think you're going to win, and if you don't, like, it's a disaster, then that's a risky game, and the whole bodybuilding sport can really mess you up. Yeah.
Exactly. You need that balance, right? You need to believe strongly in yourself, because otherwise, if you don't think like, oh, I can win this, your workout won't be as good as it could be if you had like fire in your eyes, and really went like under the barbell and think, no, I'm going to push this because I'm trying to win. I know I can do it. So you go there. If you don't have that belief, you won't push that much on your workouts. But as you said, you can't have like the certainty, because otherwise, you know, that's exactly what you said. Bodybuilding is it's decided on the stage. You can't know what will happen. So if you get on there and it doesn't work out as you were expecting, maybe you'll not be like not happy, but motivated to go on another prep and keep chasing that dream. So balance is really, really important. Nice.
Yeah, it is.
So talking a little bit about now your preps. You just said you had some preps that weren't good, and now in 4 weeks you're beginning another prep. It will be with AJ as well?
So yeah, in 4 weeks I'm dieting, but it won't be prep. It'll just be the diet. Yeah. So it'll be like a clean up and then back into a growing phase. Yeah. So
like a mini cut, like
yeah.
Okay,
so
I see.
Prep won't be until 2025 actually, because I just want to make sure that I need
a really long off season.
Yeah. I want 2 years off so I've had in the past, because I think I said earlier how many times I've competed. I've competed in like 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022. So I need like to balance that out a little bit and have some more time off, I think, just to really maximize my muscle growth, because I really believe the next year off will allow me to just build so much more tissue. And when I went to like the Worlds and I saw the pro standard, I seeing Mitch Jarvis. Do you know Mitch Jarvis? Have you seen?
No, I don't.
He's his Instagram's private, but I think if you got Natty News Daily, do you follow them? They're like a natural bodybuilding news page.
Yeah, I think
I think they would be on there. Yeah. He's just crazy. So after seeing him, I know I need him. He's 31 or 32, and I just want to make sure that I can give myself as much time as possible to really maximize my muscle growth for my physique. So it's difficult because I partly wants to prep, but it's what's needed.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think he's on here if you scroll down. Yeah. It would have been mid-June, so when he won they would have put a post up, definitely.
Okay. While Philippe keeps
stop. Yeah, the MBW posted the middle to the left, the two side triceps just above him.
Oh,
yeah, that's yeah.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So he was a pro world champ. Yeah, that's what I need to get to.
Nice, really nice. Man, talking a little bit about your growing phase, you do something that it's kind of what I believe naturals should do. That it's like not push your body fat up, because obviously that's not what we want, but to let it go up if necessary, What I see from a lot of natural lifters that are trying to gain weight, and it's like they get really worried about losing the abs on a growing phase, like, oh my god, I can't see my lower abs anymore, I think it's time for me to cut. And they're always on that scale of fighting catabolism while trying to build muscle, because they're trying to always keep such a low body fat. How do you administer this? Do you have it's like on time, I will begin prep only on 2025, so for that time I won't worry about it. When I see my body fat is going a little bit up, I diet for some time and then go back on? Or it's like, no, I have a point where I know it doesn't matter where my body fat will be, I will make this diet so that I can keep pushing again. How do you organize it?
Yeah. So I really believe if you're a natural, you need to basically really push the limits of your performance, and training performance can only go so far unless you allow, within reason, for body fat to go up. Now, there will be a limit, in my opinion, where body fat will rise and then performance may actually not go up anymore. However, something from my experience and with other clients is actually sometimes people can just get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, no matter how much more body weight they gain, because it's like, if you're heavier, you're going to move more weight. It's basic. It's like physics, right? If you weigh more, you can lift more. But we're not power lifters, so we can't get super, super fat, and the way to look at it is you just need to stay within a range. So my stage weight was like 72 kilos. Okay. So right now I'm 95 kilos. So that's 23 kilos up from my stage weight. So I would never, ever, ever start prep from here. Okay. Like, it would be a disaster. If I went into prep tomorrow for a show, it would be like the longest prep ever, or it would just be a massive rush. So what you need to do is be like, okay, I'm going to gain some body weight, but like do a diet and then come back down, and then, do like a pre-prep diet and then go back up, and then start prep in a better position. So for me, I will probably start prep at like 86, 88 kilos, like around that, maybe 86 kilos. And so, yeah, the key thing is just understanding like how much body fat you can lose within a prep. And again, it's like staying within that range, because if I gained another 10 kilos of body weight and then did a pre-prep diet, I would still have to lose loads of weight through the pre-prep diet. So then I'm dieting for ages, and you don't want to be in a position where you have to pull off crazy amounts of body fat. So that's kind of how my approach is with it. It's like allowing body weight gain to go up to really maximize muscle growth, but just understanding you can't start prep from that set point, because it will be too difficult. And yeah, I think something else on that point is like, my first ever growing phase, I struggled the most with seeing my abs go. So I think a lot of people struggle with this, because a lot of people have maybe done 1 or 2 preps, right? But through doing it over and over again, and I see what it does in terms of performance and muscle growth, I'm so welcome to it now, because I know it works, and I know it's what will allow me to build a lot of muscle tissue. So yeah, I guess it's like absolute faith in the process. But secondly, as well, it's like absolute faith in knowing that you can take it off. So if you've done a prep, if you've done a good diet, you can take the body fat off. You're not going to be that scared to gain it, because you're in control of it. You can take it away. Whereas I think some people, they're quite scared of the time that they were really heavy and they struggle to lose loads of weight. And, so I think experience, but also understanding, you got to, as a natural, you really need to test the limits. And like, for me, I need a lot of back growth, I need a lot of glute growth, and that comes from deadlifting a lot off the floor. And I wouldn't be able to pull 260 if I didn't allow body weight to go up significantly. Yeah.
Nice. Felipe will show a picture from your off season now, so that people this is what I was talking about, guys. Like letting not pushing your body fat, because obviously nobody wants to grow on body fat, but to let it grow if necessary, to be on this a good caloric surplus that allow, as Adam said, for you to have more performance on your workouts, and man, this physique is really is something, it's nice to have like this much of mass, I
Cheers.
I myself prefer a bulk physique than a prep physique. I like
Yeah.
to on the way I feel. I prefer to feel heavy
Yeah,
and
strong.
big
Yeah,
than on prep that you always like. It doesn't matter how many muscle mass you retained,
yeah.
you
You feel
feel
small.
small. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they're scared of gaining weight, but they don't realize when you gain that weight and you gain a lot of muscle with it, it's 10 times better. And I mean,
Yeah.
my girlfriend Ruby, she always prefers me with body fat. And I think girls prefer that. I think people think I think abs are pretty overrated, to be honest. Like, I think it's much better looking. I think it's much better being bulky in a t-shirt and lifting a lot in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think this as well, but my girlfriend Anna, she thinks otherwise. She thinks differently than Ruby.
Oh
Anna
really?
likes when I'm on prep. Yeah,
Oh really?
but
That's interesting.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
most of the time I'm on a book, so that's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, man, uh, aproveitando. I just forgot how to say a word in English. Let me consult Felipe. Well, I don't know exactly how to say, but you just said while you were explaining the weight, and moving more weight, you talked
Mhm.
about deadlift. You won't be able to pull 260 or if you are not like eating a lot and
Yeah.
dieting well with a caloric surplus.
Mhm.
And about talking about deadlift and then getting into your workouts, I see that you have a lot of contact with machines, but you still maintain a lot of contact with free weights as well. And
Mhm.
this is something I really like. I like really, really like. I don't like to lose contact with free weight. And when I talked to Josh for other, he said that he prefers more a machine-based training. How do you see that you like to, align your workout? How do you compose it?
Yeah, so I get why Josh is saying like he prefers machines. I think machines are really good in terms of the stability they provide. So you can generate like a massive like amount of tension through the muscle group you want. So for isolations, 100% machines are brilliant. But I think there's one thing that you really need to do free weights with, and that's like erectors, lower back loading. So, I've seen it so many times. It's like, I know it's anecdotal evidence, so just based on what I've seen, but like people that are strong at pulling from the floor have massive backs. And I'm not saying pull off blocks. I mean, like they can pull a lot of weight from the floor, because I see a lot of people doing deadlifts off blocks, and I understand that if you're tall. So if you're tall, that makes sense. Absolutely. But when there's like really short people and they're pulling off blocks, I think they should just pull from the floor and get strong at that, because that extra stretch. And when we've seen the studies nowadays on stretch mediated hypertrophy, like the stuff that you do in the stretch, like you've got to challenge yourself there. So that's why I do deadlifts and barbell rows, because for me, for what I needed with my physique as well, I needed more like glutes, lower back. So this is what's allowed me to do it, getting strong at doing rows. Like, I mean, this row is I'm trying to work my glutes and my lower back and my upper back. So it's a way of allowing me to, because I do squats to sleeps later. So I need to recover into barbell squats. So if I did a deadlift there in that session, I wouldn't recover. So the barbell row is like this nice way of hitting a bit more upper back, but still some lower back, but not too much that I can't recover. So I'm basically in my training, I've got a lot of lower back loading and getting strong at pulling from the floor, because when I competed, my weak point was my glutes, my lower back, my like back thickness, which is just what I needed from just being strong at doing these things for a long period of time. So yeah,
Nice.
when I set out training, like I absolutely think deadlifts are necessary. Maybe a stiff leg deadlift, but some sort of hinge, absolutely necessary. Rows are really important. I guess other free weight stuff I like is dumbbells because of the convergence. So when you're pressing with dumbbells, and then the other things for machines are great and are very, very beneficial. But I think for people that are new to training, I think building up some more skill with free weights enables them to use machines better because they can understand how form should be, and then they can carry that through with a machine, which is more fixed. My something I When I believe machines are so important though is when you're prepping, so in a diet phase, just because of the stability. So I was still deadlift, but that's when maybe if I had a dumbbell press, I would change that to a machine press, because when you're dieting, the extra stability that's required for a free weight, that's gone, and then when that goes, you can't really retain dumbbell pressing at all. Whereas on a machine, you can get really nice and locked in, and then you can hold movements really, really well. So my training, if you looked at my training 2 weeks out from the Natural Olympia to now, it will be quite different, but it's understanding like both have a place. Yeah.
Nice. And talking a little bit more about training, I've seen the YouTube video from your push workout. It's a recent video. I think that's like 2 or 4 weeks ago. And but I couldn't figure out exactly how many sets you would perform that. I think you said it would be 8 sets for chest on that workout, and you said you found that like a lot from what you usually do. What is like your usually volume of the week? Do you know how much you usually do for each muscle? How you usually divide?
Yeah. So I'd have to go and look at my set and count it up. But just to give you like an example of sessions, so I mean, to show you one extreme, my leg session yesterday, I had 3 sets of quads. That was it, like 3 working sets on quads. So like super low. But that's because I don't need as much quads as I need other things. But generally across the board, my volume is low because this is the style of training I really believe in. It's like the low volume, high intensity.
Sorry, I will just interrupt you really, really quick. These 3 sets of quads were on the same exercise, or it was like 3 exercises, one working set each?
So it was so the session was like, I did 2 sets of leg curls, I did 1 set of barbell squats, 1 set of leg press, 1 set leg extension, 2 sets of glute drives, and then I did like adductors, calves, and then some other stuff. But that was how it works. It was just 3 sets of quads, 3 exercises. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So very low.
Yeah, very low volume. So I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were talking about the volume. You need low volume for quads. Talking about like muscle, you need to grow. You don't need to grow your quads that much, but other muscles you do. These others you do. How you usually work them? Talking about volume.
So the volume would typically be a little bit higher on back and maybe some other movements. So, but generally still the volume would be low. Like in a pull session, I would do, I guess it would be like 1 set of barbell rows. It would be 2 sets pull down, like 2 sets row, 2 sets upper back row, maybe 2 sets upper lat, and then like 4 sets of biceps. And so still low volume. And the reason why I like to train like that is do you know Trained by JP? Have you ever followed Trained by JP before?
No.
So he's really known in England, British bodybuilder. He's literally like absolutely huge. He's on steroids, but he's like very knowledgeable. He's seriously knowledgeable on training.
Is Jordan Peters?
Yeah.
Jordan Peters, yeah. Okay, I know.
So he like I used to always watch his videos when I was into training, and it was all about low volume, high intensity, and that's exactly how I love to train. It's just that whole feeling of like, this is my set, I've got 1 set, that's it, get everything out of it and then move on. That's kind of how I like to train. So his style of training is exactly like that, and it's kind of similar to Dorian but a bit different, a bit higher frequency. But and it's it's what's worked for me, and I've done that for a long period of time actually. Yeah, and I
Okay,
think
and say sorry.
so. Yeah, I was saying I think that approach is amazing when you learn to train hard. It's just for some people, if they don't train to failure, you can't do this, because if you don't train to failure and then you're doing 3 sets of quads, well, you're not doing enough at
Yeah,
all. So it's kind of it's being efficient with your sets. Yeah.
nice. And talking about frequency, like you said, from what you said, when you're doing pool, it would be around 8 sets as well for back. You would
Yeah,
hit
around that.
this then once in the weekend. That's it.
So my split is a 10-day split. So it would be everything would be hit twice in 10 days, pretty much, or 11 days. So it's push, pull, off, legs off, push, pull, off, legs off. And I have 2 rotations.
Okay.
So like push 1, push 2, pull 1, pull 2. So yeah, that's how it would work. So it's not too high frequency, but it's like kind of like a medium level of frequency.
Yeah.
But it's a good amount of rest days that you can really attack your training. And what I like to do is, because I rest either side of leg day, it means that on legs I'll add maybe a bit of lat work or bicep work just to add some extra volume, because you can rest either side of legs, so I can kind of recover into legs and do some extra stuff on that session as well, which has worked really well as well. But yeah, I think this training is, again, it's perfect if you train hard and you need to like rest into legs and then put like 100% effort into legs. But once I introduced rest in either side of legs, my leg training went so well, like really well, as opposed to a lot of the time people do push, pull, legs. So they do legs after they've done push and pull 2 days before. And I just think at that point you might just be a bit fatigued and you need a rest day before you go into legs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the journey to reducing even more volume. I from my perspective, I already work with a low volume, especially when you compare how people work here in Brazil. Like for chest, when I'm on a book, that's when I myself do my workouts. Right now I'm with a coach for prep, but when
Yeah.
I'm on a booking, I was doing 13 sets of chest for a week.
For a week.
So
Yeah.
it's not as low as you, but I'm
It's still
trying to
quite,
reduce
yeah,
it,
yeah, still quite low,
but
yeah.
what I do is like reduce like from 10 to 20% of the sets, and then keep forcing on the load, to progress it. When I progress, I automatically feel the demand to reduce a little bit more the volume. So that's how I keep doing and go like
Yeah.
undulating
Yeah, exactly.
the volume along the time.
Yeah.
And the split I liked, it's like a 7-day split. When I'm on a book, when I do legs, pull, legs, push, legs, push and pull, then I rest, and then I hit legs again and make an upper workout. But this upper is really like just a compound volume from the push and pull I did before. So it's low volume, like one
Yeah.
exercise for each muscle, and mostly machine based, because the leg day before it's more biasing the glutes and hams. So I would do like deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift, and my low back wouldn't be fine to do barbell rows. So the upper workout would be mostly on machines. That's
Yeah.
how I was doing it on the bulking season.
Yeah. I think in terms of assessing volume and stuff, it's kind of, I was actually speaking about this earlier. There's so many different ways to assess it. It's like you can assess it with recovery from, I don't know, chest and then into your next chest session. But then you've got to think about, okay, for example, when I do 3 sets of quads, if I do loads of quad work, that's going to fatigue me even from, I don't know, my back day, because it's still building up like global fatigue, like just general fatigue, like your central nervous system. So a lot of the time people think, oh, I can add more volume because I'm not sore. Yes, but that extra work is potentially taking it away from maybe other sessions that matter more. Then you might need to do a devolume sooner, where maybe you could have gone for longer and got more out of like the sessions that matter. And then also it's like, yes, you might recover from session to session, but if I do loads of volume in one session, the recovery within the session could take a hit. So like the stuff I do at the end of the session, I might just be ruined at that point. Because, for example,
Exactly.
that YouTube video you watched of me, I added like 2 sets. So that's like the higher volume for my chest that I do. And I noticed since doing that, at the end, I'm like, I can't push much more. Especially if you use machines that are heavy in the short, you can't really do much quality work at all. You're just very fatigued. So it really takes away from your ability to do good work. So I'm very much a believer of, instead of doing like a lot of the people, they do high volume in a session, like trying to spread it out across the week, trying to just make sure you're getting the most out of the sets you are doing, as opposed to just doing, like I used to, back in the day, I used to do 20 sets on back in a session when I was younger. And yeah.
Yeah. Man, like this is nice for you to say, because this is something I also tell people, you know, like when they're trying to figure out volume and they be like, no, but I put this many sets on my chest, on my hams, or on the back, you know, whatever muscle it is. And
Yeah.
when it's time to hit it again, I feel recovered. But that's exactly as you said, you know, you may feel recovered from like later muscle pain. I don't know how you talk it, but you know, like feeling that
Yeah,
it
like
worked, you
numbs.
may have recovered it, but
Yeah,
not the fatigue that is from your central nervous system, you know, that where it will be making the strength in the workout. So
yeah, yeah,
what I always tell people is like kind of what you said, you know, that's when you put like a little bit more volume on the end of the workout, you, if it's not adapted, you will feel that you have the strength to do that exercise, but you like can't assess it. So it's like
yeah,
what you said, you can put, you know, you have the strength, you know it's there, you're feeling good, but you can't put the strength into the exercise. So it's not
mm,
making like a quality set, it's just a quantitative set, you know. It's
yeah,
there
yeah,
just
yeah, exactly.
to make more. Yeah. So what I always tell people is this, for they to take care of it. And another tip for mostly for beginners and intermediate lifters is that I talk a lot about the trinity of volume that will show if you need to low or go up on it, which is like results, with progressive overload, and muscle recovery. Because if you're not getting results, then something in your workout is wrong. So you probably need to get a little bit up or low on volume.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're not getting results, your muscle is recovering well, but you're not managing to progressive overload, probably what's happening is this, you know, you have a volume that you can recover from the muscle, but you have like this global fatigue, which is not allowing you to push harder on the next workout. So
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not being able to progressive overload because of the volume. So if you lower it, you probably begin to see more results.
yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah. So I think yeah, it's an interesting discussion with volume, because so many people do different things. But I think the low volume approach is definitely becoming like quite a well-known thing now. And I
Yeah,
think now a lot of people wanting to do it, which is cool. But I think also it's quite a dangerous narrative on Instagram of the whole low volumes, because like I said, if loads of people see, oh, I'll do 2 sets, then yeah, a lot of people are going to go and do 2 sets per exercise, and they're not going to do, they're not doing enough because they're not training
exactly.
hard enough. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I think the most important thing that people need to learn is training hard, do that first, and then bring the volume down, as opposed to doing it the other way around. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And talking about it, how was your escalate to this low volume? You know, because when I began to understand that I had to lower my volume, I got a little resistant. Like it was obviously was not now, but like a couple of years ago, it was, man, how am I going to do less and get more results? And
Yeah.
I got a little resistant with it at first, and then I began to reduce it, like a little bit to a little bit, month to month, from mesocycle to mesocycle. And the more I lowered it, my performance got better, and then I would be not only wanting to lower it again, but needing, because my performance on the workout got so much better that I managed to push more, and I couldn't recover for the next session. So how was it for you when you decided to go cutting the volume, reducing? It was like you went from here to here, or was it like a scale along the time?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a progressive thing. I think when I started working with my coach, my first ever coach, he started getting me to learn about progressive overload. And I just started thinking more about my performance. I was always very performance driven. So I was always thinking about like, how can I maximize how much I lift on this? And then the intensity went up. And I remember training with him, my old coach, and like one thing he taught me really well was to train hard. So he would literally, I'd get on a leg press. He was a really big guy, like he's massive. He was like 120 kilos. So I'd go on the 45-degree leg press, and I'd do like 300 kgs, let's just say. I'd go to failure, and then he'd be like another. I'd do like I'd do like 5 force reps with him, just pushing it. And then that'll be it. I'd be like, okay, we're done. And I'll move on to the next thing. So when I trained with him, I was like, my quads are ruined. And I learned that, like, okay, I started to love that. I started to love, like, okay, this is the set, let's go. And that's kind of how I just started doing it. So yeah, I think it was progressive, but I got to a point where I just really started channeling all that focus into that one set sort of approach, and then just moving on. And then I kind of enjoyed training like that. I thought, instead of having to do 4 sets on this movement, I'll just train really, really hard, and I'll do 2, and then I'll move on. And it made it feel like, I don't know, I feel like when you do, for example, when I first started training, the typical like, oh, you get a plan, it says 3 times 12 to 15 or 4 times 8 to 10 or something like that. Those sets just don't feel meaningful. They just feel like what does it mean? You're just doing the same thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed that style of training. It gravitated towards me. But I think one thing that I learned when I did it was the next day, how did my quads feel? They felt like ruined, like so sore. So then I thought, okay, well, this is clearly working because I've reduced the volume and I can feel it way more.
Yeah.
So it taught me that you don't need to do loads and loads of sets if you can really drive that massive internal stimulus just from one set. I think his name is Mike Mensa. I think Dorian Yates' training coach. It was exactly like that. He would be like, okay, we're going to do 1 set of bicep curls. And then he went to failure, and then he did negatives, and he did like force reps, and then he did like partials. And it's like, okay, that's it. I think that's a cool way to train. But yeah, you just got to manage the volume right. Because if you do loads of that, then you're going to build up crazy amounts of fatigue. Yeah.
Exactly. Man, I think we've covered everything. I think it was like really nice to have you here to talk about everything. Really enjoyed it. But
thank you.
Now we have that part of the podcast where I would like you to say it's like the tip board. I don't know if it would be board on traducing. Literally, it would be board, but I don't think it is. Well, it's that part of the podcast when I would like you to give a tip to people, and this tip would be mostly based on what you did wrong when you were on your beginning, that people may be doing as well, and what they should do instead, like quick tips for beginners and intermediate lifters.
So I think the most important thing would be to like do the same workouts and track your lifts, and just build up skill with those movements you do, and just stick to keep it simple and just be consistent with your workouts. Because the biggest mistake I made when I started training was every day was a different plan. Like I was just switching things up a lot, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do today? Do not do that. You're not going to shock the muscle. Stick to the same workouts and progress those movements. That is the biggest advice I could give to people watching. Yeah.
Nice. Adam, just wanted to thank you again. Thanks a lot for coming to the podcast. I'm pretty sure people will love it. As I said, it's really, really nice for us to be able to consume this content from outside, to get a perspective from a person that lives on a place where natural bodybuilding is way beyond we can see it now on our country. So thanks a lot. Everyone that would like to get in contact with Adam for his coaching, I will be dropping the link in bio here on YouTube. If it's on Spotify or Apple Music, I think Felipe can put the link. I don't know if it. Yeah. So also, if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, the link is below. If you want to join BM team as well, Felipe will be dropping the QR code on the screen. And also, if you want to support the podcast, if you want to support our work, Growth Supplements, coupon Brunão, you'll be supporting us with that. Thank you, Adam. Thank you once more.
Thank you for having me. It was great,
man. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.